Welcome to Into the Blue, a weekly look behind the scenes of the Tampa Bay Lightning with reporters Gabby, Shirley, and Ben Pierce.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Into the Blue. I'm Gabby Shirley, sitting beside my co-host, Ben Pierce. And we have a lot to get to today, Ben. I am already huffing and puffing. Too many words, too many things going on in my mind. How are you feeling?
It's been a day. How many times did I look at you today and be like, what a day? Just like, wow, we're living.
Yes, a fair amount, but I was feeling it too. Okay, so a lot to talk about, starting with a huge Tampa Bay Lightning trade. We will then get into the run this Lightning team has been on since really the start of February, and we'll round it out by talking about the Big Cat and Tampa Bay Lightning goaltending. So, Ben, let's just jump right into it. A huge trade made by the Tampa Bay Lightning on Wednesday afternoon prior to that trade deadline, which is on Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. I got to look at the list to make sure I get it right. The Tampa Bay Lightning, they acquire forward Oliver Bjorkstrand. I'm pronouncing it correctly, right?
Yeah.
I had to practice it a few times just to make sure, guys. Forward Yanni Gourde, you guys all know that name. Welcome home. A 5th-round draft pick in 2026. And then the Seattle Kraken, they get forward Mikey Eyssimont, a 2nd-round draft pick in 2025, a 1st-round draft pick in 2026, and a 1st-round draft pick in 2027. The Seattle Kraken, as well as the Detroit Red Wings, they retain some of Gourde's salary. So, those are the details, Ben. What are your thoughts?
I love this deal. Listen, man, all due respect to Zemgus Girgensons, but when you bring in a guy like Oliver Bjorkstrand, who I assume is probably going to start on that second unit with Hagel and Shirley, and the big thing with Bjorkstrand is he's right-handed. The Lightning don't have a lot of that, and Julian Breezeball mentioned that today in his presser. He said that was a big piece for us, is that he's right-handed, and we think he's going to be a really good natural fit there on the right side. And the other thing, too, is he's signed for another year after this one at $5.4 million, so he'll be here for next year as well. And it's like, we've talked so much this season about all the records, all the crazy numbers that the top 5 scorers for the Lightning have put up, but that kind of next-level scoring, we've seen it more of late, but we've said so often, this team could use one more piece, right? Maybe one more score. And they're the Tampa Bay Lightning, so they go out and get 2. And I just think it makes this such a more dangerous lineup top to bottom. I mean, we just talked here before we started recording, all the moving pieces you can put around and who goes where, who plays with who. And I think that's the big thing about this trade, too, is they're not locked into anything. They didn't go out and sign or trade for a guy who makes a ton of money and then they couldn't make any other moves. Bjorkstrand and Gourde, these are 2 guys that can play first line, second line, third line. They can play different roles, and I love it. I think Bjorkstrand is one of those guys who's pretty underrated. I mean, the guy was 1 point shy of 60 last year for a Seattle team that missed the playoffs. This is a guy that can score. I know Julian today mentioned, Breezeball said, we love his shot. We think he's got a really good shot. And, I mean, the Lightning don't have any problem scoring goals, but who doesn't love having one more weapon in the stable, right? It's just, I could go on and on. I think it's a great trade. The fact that, obviously, you never want to see a current guy go. It's always tough saying goodbye in Mikey, but the Lightning are a better team today than they were when we woke up and first got to the rink today, hoping to see something happen. There was no wait until Friday for this move, and I think it's a great, great move.
100%. And right, Ben, just the talk prior to this trade was the Tampa Bay Lightning are looking for a forward, perhaps a bottom 6 forward. They just need some additional scoring. And as you said, the Lightning have no trouble scoring, but it's typically coming from the big boys. So Bjorkstrand, he comes up, and as you just said, you envision him perhaps skating with Shirley and Hagel on that second line, but he brings, at this point in the season, 37 points, 16 goals, and 61 games played, so he can score. You said Julian Breezeball, he mentioned him being a right-handed shot, and then he mentioned the shot, the ability, it's an elite shot, the ability to get it off. That's something that I haven't really noticed from him. I haven't seen him a whole lot, but I'm certainly going to be paying attention because I'm excited to see what that could bring, maybe even on the power play.
Ooh, okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just throwing it out there. And then Yanni Gourde, everyone knows him. Everyone in this Tampa Bay community seems to love him. But then he slides in somewhere on the bottom 6, which, again, is just what had been circulating around this team as far as what can they do, what do they need. we're going to talk about in a second, but the Lightning have been on quite a run, and it's because of defense. So they didn't do anything to their D-core, but they brought in not one, but two guys that can help them offensively.
Well, in Bjorkstrand, too, that's a guy that in Columbus, and I don't remember exactly who was ahead of him, and this would have been years ago, so it might have even been like the Nick Foligno days, but he was kind of stuck. When Seattle took him in that expansion draft, people said, like, this is a guy who easily could blossom into a big offensive scorer. He might just be a defensive shutdown guy, but what he's done in Seattle, I think he's gained a lot of respect across the NHL. Like, this is a guy that a lot of teams had circled and said, we want this guy because he plays tough. He plays hard. He's got kind of that bottom six mentality, but then he's got the top six offense to go with it. He really is kind of that perfect mesh between let's get some offense, but let's play the right way. And obviously Lightning fans love Gourde. And, you know, I can't wait to see what they do with the lines. And I'm just imagining being a defenseman and escaping from Nick Paul on the forecheck, and you turn around and the second forward in is Yanni Gourde. Like, God, what a nightmare! Like that, just stuff like that is so exciting. It's been a great day here, a long day, but I think everybody's excited with the move.
I feel like we could just go on and on and on, but perhaps just summarizing this, these two players, they are on a plane tonight, Wednesday night. They will be in the building, Amalie Arena. What's today? Wednesday.
Yep.
Thursday morning. I don't even know what we're doing here. Thursday morning, they will be in the lineup Thursday against the Buffalo Sabres. Yes, that is who we play next. So, yeah, Ben, we won't have to wait long to see where they slot in. Of course, that can always change after a shift or after 4 games, whatever. But, yeah, they're going to get in here and get going right away. And another topic that we were bringing up, the ovation that Yanni Gourde is going to get in his first game back in a Tampa Bay Lightning uniform.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. Like, you know, all of this predates me, but just watching those teams and just from the outside, like seeing that quote unquote third line, sorry, Coop, like that group, how much like they were so loved by the fan base, despite all of the crazy offense and skill in the top 6. Like, they loved that third combination when they were winning those back-to-back cups. And, you know, you win a Stanley Cup, you're a part of history. That's just how it goes. You win 2 back-to-back. We saw all the pictures and videos today of Yanni running around shirtless with the tooth missing on the, you know, after the celebration, and he's part of a franchise history, and I know fans are going to love to have him back. So I'm excited to see what that looks like.
The last thing I'll add, we heard from the Bolts general manager, Julien Brisebois, had plenty of good things to say about what went into this trade, why he wanted to acquire these two guys, on and on and on. We tweeted all about it, Ben. You'll probably have a story on our website.
There will be one coming.
But he said that he got on the phone with these guys and they knew that they had been traded because I do not believe they traveled with their team to wherever they were going next for a game. And he said when he talked to them, they both said, we were hoping it would be to the Tampa Bay Lightning. So Julien Brisebois, he loved to hear that, and that's a good thing to hear from two players that are coming in and hopefully will have a big impact on this team.
What a compliment.
All right. Feels weird to move on, but we're just going to touch on what the Lightning have been up to and just look ahead to what we can expect from them as they go down the stretch here. Not too many games left in the regular season,
Somehow.
which is wild to say.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's insane. I don't know where the season has gone, but 20 games left. Crazy.
Yeah.
Hopefully about 40 games left, but
Yeah.
20 regular season games left.
Okay, so the Lightning are rolling, and they are crediting their defense. 9-1-0 over the last 10 games. They're averaging more than 4 goals per game over that 10-game stretch. Maybe that will increase as they bring in 2 guys that can put the puck in the net. But, Ben, they also have not allowed more than 2 goals in each of their last 6 games. So, who are you crediting for that strong defensive showing?
I think it's really been a team effort. Like, if you're the forwards, I feel like every night I'm watching somebody go down to block a shot, and they get up, and I'm like, woof. Like, the other night it was Zemgus. He goes down to block that shot, and you can see him kind of bracing, and then you hear it hit the pad, and I'm like, that had to break something. Like, it sounded so, like, throughout the entire rink it echoed, and he's back out there for his next shift, and you can see his teammates all giving him the love, and Vasi's doing a good job of freezing plays, not letting momentum in, and it just really has been. Like, Jonas Johansson missed 8 games with an injury. He comes back, and he was phenomenal. 30 saves. Just, it's been a group effort, and I think it's really a buy-in from the group as far as we want to play the right way. And it's just not panicking in their own zone. I think at the start of the year, too, they'd get into the zone and maybe they were trying to set up the perfect passing play. And now if they don't have a play, it's more let's get the puck deep. Let's make them have to go the full 200 feet the other way instead of let's give them the puck at the blue line, I'm flat-footed, and now all of a sudden they're flying towards our net. Mm-hmm. It's just a real team effort of let's play the game the right way, and they've reaped the rewards here.
Yeah, you just touched on it, but we also cannot forget about goaltending. Andrei Vasilevskiy has been absolutely phenomenal, right? We say it all the time. The players say it more than we do when they are asked about the play of their starting goaltender. But it just seems like, Ben, he is... I don't even know how to put it into words. I don't really like referring back to vintage Vasilevskiy because, in my opinion, there hadn't been much of a dip in his play. Of course, he was hurt, what was it, last season at this point. But, I don't know. He just gets out there and he's making the highlight saves and the timely saves.
Well, and the highlight saves too, it doesn't seem like it's because he's out of position and he has to fly across.
Correct.
Like a lot of times he makes these saves look so textbook. You know, like you have to watch it a couple times and be like, wait a minute, how did he stop that puck? Like it's just, he just makes it look so clinical. And I think too for Vasi, like getting that rest, getting JoJo back so he could get that rest, I think was big. But it's one of those kind of balancing acts of when that's the guy that's on, you want him in there as much as you can, especially when you're making this playoff push. I mean, the guy won 8 games in a row. He was in that for the entire 8-game win streak for this team, and he's just making the saves, like you said, at the right time, but he's really just making almost all the saves. Like, it's just, he's been so dialed in, and it's been really fun to watch. He got some recent honors here from the NHL, and just, I think everybody's enjoying it, and you forget just how lucky we are to have the best goalie in the world playing in front of us every night, and he's definitely making the case. He's 1 win away from being the second goalie of the season to reach 30 wins, and hopefully we get to see that maybe tomorrow night.
I love it. I'll be ready for it. All right. I think we can move on to our Blue Line segment. Do you think we...
Let's hit the blue line.
Yeah? Should we do it?
I think we're good.
Okay, these questions came prior to the big trade. But you know what, Ben? I'm gonna throw one at you. I'm gonna kind of make this one up because I've been seeing it
Perfect.
on X. So
Just
everyone
make
that
this
is
one up.
that is inquiring about different things, here we go. We'll say it's from Anonymous. Okay.
Okay.
Blue Line segment. Do you think the Tampa Bay Lightning gave up too much in this most recent trade?
Well, Anonymous. I don't. And mostly because like this is a team that's trying to maximize and extend their window to win a Stanley Cup. And I thought Brisebois' comment today about, listen, draft picks are all good and fine, but when you have a player who can make you better now and help you push, that does so much more for this group. And he said, like, as a general manager, I feel like it's my responsibility if I feel like my team is ready to win to help that group take the next step instead of stacking up draft picks that might help in a couple of years. You don't hear a general manager be that candid and honest, but this group has accomplished some really impressive things this year. They're one of the top teams in the league, and they could. Like, this is a team that everybody's talking, especially after this trade, like, did the Tampa Bay Lightning just become the favorite to win the Stanley Cup? You're seeing these headlines, and it's like, listen, guys, this team was good before this trade. They got better with the trade. And I know you never want to give up first-round picks. It's tough losing a roster player. But for this group, Bjorkstrand being signed beyond this year, too. And Brisebois said that the hope is that they can sign Yanni Gourde past this season. If you get that done, and all of a sudden next year you've got Bjorkstrand and Gourde coming back with all the contracts you've already signed, this team's starting to look like a wagon, right? Like, the first round pick that you might take next year, and if you're doing what you're hoping to do, it's probably the 28th, hopefully in the 30s pick, right? Like, it's a late first round pick. It's not like you're giving up the first overall pick. And another thing Julian said is there's a big difference between pick 1 and pick 32. And obviously you look at the Connor McDavids, the Kucherovs, all those guys, and Kucherov, I don't know how he felt the way he did when he got drafted, but that first overall pick is typically a shoe-in. And from there, it falls off every year kind of quickly, and some years are better than others. But I just think for this team right now to get 2 really good NHL players, you got to take that chance.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And we are recording this just what, Ben, an hour, give or take, after Julien Brisebois spoke. And I don't know about you, but every time he speaks, I just marvel at, first of all, he is so well spoken and just on it. And I always learn something.
Yeah.
So, yes, you really just summarized it very well. But he just touched on, we wanted an impactful player that could play big minutes and that we could have for more than just the remaining X amount of games in the regular season and then hopefully a long playoff run. So you get that in Bjorkstrand. He's signed for another year, so Lightning will have him on their roster next year. And then Julien said, Yanni Gourde, we know him well. He knows us well. It's too soon to really predict anything, but we are hopeful that we can sign him to stay with us for a bit longer.
For sure. And I think the Julien quote that stood out to me was he said, I feel like with this trade, we got better today. We got better this season. I think we're better prepared for next season and the seasons beyond. This wasn't we have to jump on this to try to make our run this year. It was a very calculated, we think this makes us a better team for the next several years. And I think that sometimes people forget, well, what about that first round pick that might be here in 6 years if you hit the pick? It's just, like you said, Julien, every time he talks, I'm like, yep. It's hard to disagree with a guy who's that smart, and obviously he's in the big chair for a reason. I think it's a great trade.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, we have one that's still kind of relevant to the trade. Julien actually touched on it a little bit, but the question, again, that came prior to the trade is from Hetty's biggest fan. Can you explain how someone is put on waivers that same day and then is able to play in the game? Put on waivers and that same day is able to play in a game. Cam Atkinson is what I'm asking about. I don't understand how that works. So, Ben, can you touch on this? We perhaps touched on it a little bit with a different player in Brandon Halverson a few weeks ago maybe, but also Julien kind of gave an update on Cam in his press conference. So what do you got?
So simply, if it's the same day, a player goes on waivers and teams can put their claims in for that player the same day, overnight, but those claims aren't processed until 2 p.m. the next day. So the Tampa Bay Lightning, if they put, say, Cam Atkinson on waivers like they did this week, Cam Atkinson is a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning that entire 24-hour process. He never leaves the team. He's not sent directly to, say, Syracuse, for example. He's still there until he clears waivers. So they have full rights to play him as long as they're salary cap compliant, which they are. Mm-hmm. So Cam can play because even though he was put on waivers, he was not immediately assigned to the American Hockey League. So he's still a member of the roster. He's still eligible to play because that timeline is you put him on waivers the day before, and the waiver claims aren't processed and finalized until 2 p.m. the following day. So it's kind of tricky on the timing. Sometimes the timing doesn't work out. Like with the Halverson situation, it was kind of a different one because it was an earlier game. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, it is that 2 p.m. cutoff of this is still our player. We have the ability to play them. They're still on our team. And say that player gets hurt. If you were planning to assign them, maybe then you can't assign them and you got to figure something else out. But the big thing is he's still on your team for that entire process until there's been an assignment per se.
Yes, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Julien, that came up today in the press conference, and he said, yes, he'll be going to Syracuse, but we think maybe he'll be back here with us. It just depends on what's best for Cam and what works out best for us.
For sure, and he said he wanted to, when he touched base with Cam, he talked about, like, this is a guy that's loved in that locker room. Yep. He's brought a lot to this team when he's been on the ice, but he's brought a lot in the locker room as well, and really gave a glowing description of what Cam's brought to this group this year. And he said, like, I would expect to see Cam Atkinson back with the Lightning at some point. The timing, he said, we'll see. I don't know for sure on that, but he did say, like, we want to talk with Cam and check with his family and see what works best for them. But as far as the waivers, since he cleared today, the team has the right to assign him, and we'll kind of see how that all shakes out in the next couple days.
Lovely. All right. Again, it feels weird to just transition. I am just so trade focused right now, but here we go. We're going to go to everyone's favorite plus minus segment. Ben, you want to start us off?
I will go first. My plus is going to be my first major trade experience in the NHL.
It's great.
Because I remember when we left yesterday after the game thinking, like, okay, we're getting close to the trade deadline. And then you realize it's in 2 days. I was like, that is
really close.
That's really close. And then you get here and we're sitting there and like I said, all day, I'm like looking over at Bucky. I'm looking over at you. I'm like, what are we doing here, guys? And somebody's got to know something. And you can just see like when all of a sudden the phones start ringing, you start seeing people move around, walk around the office, and you're like, okay, we got to be getting close. And there's obviously a lot of behind the scenes action that has to happen in order to pull something like this off. And I just thought it was really cool to hear Julian talk about the process of how did you end up on these players, on this team, what's kind of the timeline looked like. And it's cool. It's not my first trade deadline yet. However, pretty major shakeup and a pretty big trade. And it was pretty cool to kind of see some of that behind the scenes because, my entire life you see all the details and all the different people trying to get the inner workings of the trades out. And there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And I thought it was cool to get a firsthand look at that. So that my plus is what I deem to be a fantastic trade for the Lightning. And hopefully we get to see these guys score lots of points in Tampa Bay Blue.
So good. Not to be too repetitive, and I kind of already mentioned it, but yes, this trade, it's so fun to be on this side, on the team side, and see those inner workings, the behind the scenes, if you will. But Ben, my plus will just be hearing from our general manager, Julien Brisebois. Like I said, I look forward to it every time. We don't get to hear from him all that often. We see him right by our desks often, but usually he is a man on a mission, so I don't chat with him all that much. But when I do, it's just great. And when he gets in front of that podium and just shares his knowledge, what he thinks of certain players, why he does what he does, why he makes the trades that he makes, I'm always learning something, and I always really enjoy it. So that's my plus.
Yeah, that's a hockey brain. Like you said, when he talks, every time I leave, I'm like,
whoa.
That guy is so much smarter than I am.
Yes, yes. And like
you said, you learn something almost every time.
Let me listen to this press conference a second time,
a
third time. Wait, what did he say there? Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I see it now. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, for sure. Always learning something from that man. So he was great today, as per usual. Okay, what's your minus?
My minus is the inner battle right now. Obviously, the gallbladder's out. And
the gallbladder.
I want just the nastiest, greasiest fast food on the planet. And I still haven't been told, like, yeah, you're good to, like, give that a whirl. And, like, there's been a couple of things I've eaten where my stomach's been like, you got to chill out, dude. But I have been craving, like, just, like, Taco Bell, for example. Like, just something that I know is going to just...
And what are you not allowed to eat?
Well, it's hard because they're, like, right now, you should avoid, like, the trans fats and, like, really greasy and, like, really fatty foods. Fatty, greasy... trans fat, like everything in fast food. I'm like, good God, where's my snack wrap from McDonald's or something? Like, this is getting ridiculous. And my wife the other day was like, oh, we could try this. And then she'll be like, oh, just kidding. No, you can't. And I just, like a spicy chicken sandwich from somewhere, deep fried. I'm hurting right now. I want one and I can't have it. And I'm a big baby for that. But I could use some trash food in my life.
Now, let me follow that up with, are you a constant trash food guy? Like, how often are you going to a fast food restaurant for
and that's
said trash food
like that's
element?
Like it used to be like once a week, like when I was on the road for covering local sports and stuff. You get done with a game at 10 o'clock, you got an hour drive home. It's quicker to grab something from the gas station or go through the drive-thru and then just drive home, listen to the podcast or something.
A glizzy from the gas station?
Glizzy? Yeah, and more. No, you don't know what Quick Trip is, right?
I have no idea what that is.
Oh my God, that's so painful. Quick Trip is the greatest gas station in the world, and they call it the hot spot, where they have their hot food. But this place had like boneless chicken wings, like full. You could order like a full 16-inch pizza and pick it up. They had chicken sandwiches. Oh man, wow. I think my stomach's rumbling. Yeah, it was unreal. I miss my Quick Trip, but. Like, it's one of those things where I don't want to go home and then be at 11 o'clock at night and have to make a meal. Like I just want something quick and easy, and it might not be great for me, but it's going to taste good. And I miss it. I miss it.
Again, another comment from me that's not that necessary. But Ben, like, what is it with people? I was going to say guys, but I know plenty of girls and chicken wings. Like, I just don't get it.
I forgot. I shouldn't have used your trigger word. I forgot
I don't get
about your thing with chicken wings. But I said these were boneless. Is that different?
Yeah, that's better. That's better.
Because I'm not. I would
You're
never
right.
get
I can't do the bone.
I would
can't
never
do the
get
bone
natural chicken wings, like full chicken wings from a gas station.
But
I'm not a
boneless.
complete psycho.
But boneless is better. Yeah,
Yeah.
boneless is better.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
Chicken wings are elite, though. You're still wrong on that. So,
will
moving
never agree.
yeah. Before you become my minus, what is your minus, Miss Anti-Chicken Wing?
my plus and my minus have changed mid-podcast, but my minus will just
If you
be...
say chicken wings.
No.
Okay. All right. Okay.
That I have never been more nervous for a podcast. To all our listeners and all our viewers, I can't say I do this little rundown that far in advance, but as you can expect, the rundown was changing constantly today. I felt like there was a lot going on. I am stumbling and bumbling my way through this, so I apologize to you. Thank you for sticking with us. Ben, I will also say, right, Into the Blue, it's all about the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I do feel that I am pretty well-versed in players on the Tampa Bay Lightning. These two new guys that we're talking about, I don't know enough about them. I will get there. I promise you I will get there, but thank you for sticking with us. Hopefully you don't think I sound like too much of a idiot.
There's going to be somebody out there who's like, we got to get Gabby Shirley on the stick so she can play some NHL 25 or something. You know, start a franchise mode.
No.
I can't imagine that.
No.
You're right. You're right.
So, yeah, that's my minus. Just
Okay.
not feeling fully prepared and well-versed enough on our topics today. But again, I put my best foot forward.
I mean, it's the trade deadline. Like, you're never going to be fully prepared for some of this stuff, right? Like, you're doing great. Come on now.
Makes me nervous. Okay. With that being said, how are we doing on time? Like, I feel like we're not, like, we have plenty of time. So again, maybe I'm just flying through this because I don't know what else to say. But we're going to go to the question corner segment and give away some free pucks. Do you have the rules and regs with you? I'm not sure you do.
Oh, Gabby, I got smart this week. This should have been my plus. Ask me if I flagged the rules and regs email so that it's at the top of my inbox now.
He has. He's consulting his email account.
Oh, God. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Does this not work on my email? On my app, I can't. That's tough. Rules? That actually makes me mad. See, because in my
Getting
email,
there. He's looking for him.
in my email, I have it flagged at the top of my inbox so I can just go ahead and read it.
Okay, well.
All right, you go ahead and read your thing.
As you locate them, we're going to give out some pucks. Now, guys, we have 2 questions because I messed up in a question 2 weeks ago. But our first question had to do with a Tampa Bay Lightning just overall record. We do have a winner. Desiree, congratulations. You will be getting a signed puck from a mystery player on the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then our most recent question was, what will Ryan McDonough's plus minus be in 4 games? At that point in time, he had the best plus minus in the league at plus 25. He stays steady. Plus 25. See, stumbling and bumbling. Plus 35. He stays steady, plus 35. And we do have a winner in Kevin. So thank you for your guess. You will also be getting a signed puck. All right, Ben, read us those rules and regs so we can close this thing out.
Alrighty. Each Thursday morning during the 2024 to 2025 Tampa Bay Lightning regular season, as the Into the Blue podcast is released, we're giving you a chance to win an autographed puck from a Lightning player. During the show, we will pose a statistical question related to that subsequent week's upcoming games, and you will have until Sunday night of that week to get your guess in as to what the correct answer will be. You can respond to our post on X from the Bolts Radio account, or you can email radio@tampabaylightning.com. We will pick one winner at random from all of the correct entries. No purchase or payment is necessary, and restrictions will apply. You can visit tampabaylightning.com/intothebluerules for full rules, prize description, odds, and other info, and that is void where prohibited.
Ben, you were the maker of the question this week, so why don't you read it?
Alrighty, well, we got some new faces in the building, so we figured why not get everybody involved right away. So, with Yanni Gourde and Oliver Bjorkstrand joining the Tampa Bay Lightning, we want to know the total combined points for both new players over the next 3 games. So that's points by both players combined. So say if Bjorkstrand has 3, Gourde has 3, the answer would be 6. So it is for both players. How many points do you think they will tally over the next 3 games? Their first 3 games with the Tampa Bay Lightning.
And this was my previous minus, but in a distressing way, I'm going to tell you that the next 3 games, they're not on FanDuel Sports Network. So you will not be seeing my face I will be on social media, though.
She'll be everywhere.
Still covering the game.
Look
but
out.
guys, I won't be on these games that you're watching potentially from your couch, which is just a tragedy in itself.
So remind me, are you between the glass? Are you still down there? Or by the boards, I should say? If you're not on camera?
No.
Or where are you
I
going to
can
watch the
go
games
hang
from?
out, but
Where are you going to watch the
TBD.
game from?
Maybe I'll visit you in the press box. It just seems
Ooh.
like quite a hike. Maybe I'll hang out in this solo room that I have
Do you
by
think
the
you could
locker
sit
room that I
still in
never
the press
even
box
use usually.
for an entire game? Do you think you could sit still in a press box for an entire game?
No, definitely not.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Absolutely not.
I didn't think so.
I may still be doing some interviews for Jumbotron in game,
Ooh, okay.
but we'll see.
Okay.
TBD.
All right. Well, that is too bad for our viewers. I know they love seeing you, but something tells me your X feed is going to be plenty full. You always find a way to dig up the good stuff, even when you're not on the TV.
Thank you, Ben. I try my best. So yes, I guess we'll wrap it up there, right?
What a week. And it's Wednesday.
And it's Wednesday.
What a week. We're halfway there. But what a day.
Yeah.
Exciting times to be a fan of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And we appreciate the fact that you guys are all still here listening to us through we're 3/4 of the way through the year.
Crazy.
Wild. We appreciate all of you.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Into the Blue, and we will catch up with you again next week.
Follow the Lightning Audio Network on social media @Bolts Radio. And don't forget to hit subscribe in your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode of Into the Blue.